Yeah, hi guys. Now we solve this question today, the May June 2024 paper 4 CIE question. So let's start with number one. We're just solving only the number one of this question. So it says a program needs to take integer number as input. So the input must be integer. Sort the number and then search for a specific number. So take integers as input, sort them, and search for a specific number in the number that has been stored. So A says the integer number will be stored in the global 1D array data stored. So data stored is a global array. So it needs to be declared as global. So you go to your code, your IDE. So the word global is very important in this question because your array must be declared as a global. So we write global data stored. Okay, with space for up to 20 integers. So since if you just write data stored, what is data type? You don't know if it is integer or float or whatever. So you need to be able to tell Python that this data stored is an array. And when you're writing array in Python, you write it as a list. I hope you understand. So that means you need to say data stored is equal to an empty list. So because the question says space for up to 20 integers, so we may not be able to specify the dimension in Python. So you have to write it as a comment and says integer. Then you say array of 20 spaces, 20 spaces for 20 integers rather. 20 integers, array of 20 integers. So writing array of 20 as a comment shows that you've declared data stored as a list of 20 integers. So the word global is very important and very compulsory because the question says global. So the next one says that the global variable number items stores the quantity of item the array contains. Quantity of item, that is the number of item. So that means number item is an integer. And it is also a global variable. So you write the word global, then number items. Okay, so since it's an integer, you must write it in the comment and say integer. So the comment is important. Likewise, the word global is important. So this is question 1A. So I have to write the program to declare data stored and number item. So it has been declared. So let's come here and say 1A. So you can just comment 1A and what is the next thing? You save your program and copy your code to the evidence document. So that is number 1A. I hope you understand that. The question says global, very important. You see data stored is an array and in Python we write it as a list, which is the reason why we must give it an empty list to tell Python that this is a list, okay, and you write it in comment array of 20 integers. So that's question 1A, that is 1 mark. Both everything you write here is just 1 mark. Then the next is number 1B. Number 1B. So it says that the procedure initialize. So procedure is also a function, okay? So write def, that is how we declare a function initialize. Okay, you write def, the name of the function, the bracket and full colon, then enter. Prompts the user to input the quantity of numbers the user will like to enter, the quantity of numbers. The quantity prompts the user to input the quantity. And don't forget that the question says that the quantity of array should be stored in what? In number items. So let's take the input and save it in what? In number item. So you say that number items is equal to input, enter the quantity of numbers. Okay. Now there's going to be an error. No, not an error, but an issue on the long run, because the quantity you are asked to enter should be an integer, and whatever you enter as an input is a string. So anything in this input is a string, but what is required in this question is an integer and not a string. So that means you must convert this to an integer. I hope you understand that. So now there will be no issue. Although if you run the code, there will be no error, but there will be issue on the long run, because number item is supposed to be an integer. Now after writing this, so the next thing is, so since we're using number item, remember, number item is declared as a global variable. So whenever you declare a variable as a global variable in Python, if you need to use that variable in a function, you must redeclare it in that function so that it is linked to the global variable. If you don't, the number item in this function will be different from the number item in outside of the function. I hope you understand. So let's assume outside of the function, you declare number item as 0, and number item here is 10. This number item will not be 10, it still remains as 0. Why this one will not be 0, it is 10. So if you want them to be linked and want them to be the same variable, then you must redeclare it as a global variable in each of the function that you need them, or else it will be a local variable in that function. So to prevent that, and if that happens, the value will not be the same as the local and the global variable. So to prevent that issue on the long run, then I write global number items. Now, number item is no more a local variable, it is now a global variable. So it is now linked to the number item outside of this function. I hope this is well understood. Now, the question now says, so I've answered this, because when you are answering Cambridge question, you answer the question line by line. You don't read everything and summarize what you have read. No, you answer it line by line. You read the question, write the code for that line. That is how it's done, to prevent you from making mistake. So it says prompt the user to input the quantity of number, which is exactly what we just did now. So the next question now says read the inputs and validate it is between 1 and 20 inclusive. So the input has been read. It has been read and saved as number item. But we need to validate. What does validate means? To make sure that, to confirm, to check that it is 1 and 20, so that we need an if statement to do that. So we say if 1 less than or equal to number items less than or equal to 20, because 20 and 1 must be inclusive, which is the reason why I use less than or equal to. If they are not inclusive, I only use less than. So this will check that is the number between 1 and 20. So if it is between 1 and 20 and that has been validated, what do we do? We prompt the user to input each number. So now tell the user input each number. What does this number item does? Number item is telling the user is telling the program that I want to enter this number of items. Maybe I want to enter 5 items. I want to enter 10 items. The quantity. Do you understand? So if the user now says, I want to enter 10, that means you need to ask the user 10 times to enter the number. That is, enter the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, up to 10 times. Is that understood? But to be writing the code one by one up to 10 times is going to take a lot of time. So why we need a function that will be able to iterate in that number of times for us, which is what? Which is the for loop. I hope you guys understand that. So then we say for I in the range of what? Of number items. So we use for loop to be able to iterate in the number of time, because when you say range of number item, it starts from 0 to that item minus 1. So let's take, for example, the user inputs number item as 20. So it goes from 0 to 19, and 0 to 19 is 20 values or 20 times. I hope you understand that. So So it prompts the user to input each number, which is what we just done. So we have made an iterative function to go in the number of times the user has inputted the number, and stores each number in what? In data stores. So we now say data stored dot append, data stored dot append, okay, append, let me say number, the number, each number the user is inputting. But I need to write a function to be able to save each number the user is inputting in that word number, in that variable number. Then I say number is equal to input, enter the number. I hope you understand that. But the issue here is there will be an error. Or will there be an error? Not yet. There won't be an error yet, but it doesn't answer the question. The question says enter numbers, but input will enter a string. So we need to what? We need to convert this to what? To an integer, so that whatever is inputting as a string will be converted to an integer and saved in number. The number is now saved in each position in data stored depending on the number item that was inputted by the user. I hope this is understood. So that is the end of that line. But the question is this question fully answered? What if the number is not between 1 and 20? Because when you are validating, you must validate if it is between 1 and 20 and also do something if it is not between 1 and 20. I hope you understand that. So if it's not between 1 and 20, what do we need to do? We need to continue to tell the user to enter the number. That means the user has not inputted the required number in the valid range. That means if the user enters 0, for example, it is not valid because it is not in the range the question wants. If the user has entered 30, it is still not valid because it is not in that range. If the user entered 45, it is not valid because it is not in that range. But if the user enters 10, it is valid. So we need to check something that will make the user continue to enter the number until a valid number is entered. I hope you understand. So we need to create another variable and call it valid to be equal to, let's say, false, because when the number is valid, I want to make it true. So initially it should be false. So I need to use a while loop so that it continues to ask the user until valid becomes true. And valid becomes true when the number is within the valid range. So I say y valid is equal to false. What would this do? This will continue to run in as much as the what? In as much as the value of valid is false. Do you understand? So what do I do here? Then I say that once the number is within the range we want, then we change valid to be equal to true. I hope this is understood. So we said valid is false. Why valid is true? So we can also include here and still say valid is equal to false. It's still the same thing in both cases. Okay, so valid is false. Why valid is false? Valid is false. So this will run because valid is false. I hope you understand. Now, the value of valid is still false. It checks if the number is within 1 and 20. If the number is not within 1 and 20, it goes back to the while loop and check if valid is still false. Don't forget, valid was still false. It comes back, confirm that valid was still append that value, checks if the number is within 1 and 20. If not, it goes back. It continues until the number is between 1 and 20. If the value is, let's take for example 15, then valid will be turned to true. So the value of valid is now true. It now iterates in the number you enter. That is in the number of index. Let's take for example 9. It iterates between 0 to 9, and it puts the value in the what? In the each of the position in the list. When it is done, it comes back and check the value of valid and realize it is now true. So since it is now true, it gets out of the function and does not repeat. So I hope this is understood. But we are going to have another problem. Data stored is used in this function, but data stored is not declared in this function as a global variable. So data stored in this function is a local variable. It will not be linked to the data stored that was already declared outside of this function. So that means we need to redeclare data stored and as a global so that it is linked with the outside data stored variable. I hope you understand this. Then we'll write global data stored. Is this understood? So now the question has been fully answered. So that is question 1b. So let's move to the next question. Question 1c. It says the main program stores 0 in number item. So main program is just like just write the code outside of any function. So that means this 1a is part of the main program. That is what it means. You can also write another program and call it main, but it is not necessary. But whichever you do, both runs according to how you want it, okay? So the main program what? Stores 0 as number item. So it says number item is equal to 0. Calls initialize. Initialize is called. Okay? And then output the contents of what? Data stored. Then I can say print data stored. I hope you understand that. So this is the main program. So this is question 1c. Question 1c. So you print data stored. Okay. So when that is done, you save your program and paste it to your evidence document. So 3 is now saying test your program by inputting the following data in the order given. So let's test our data. So let's run. It says enter the quantity of number. So what is the first thing you need to input? 30. 30. So now when you enter 30, what happens? It stays there. But what is it supposed to do? It's supposed to ask us again, isn't it? So that means there is a mistake with what we've done. So let's go back to the code and correct our mistake. Is this understood? So let's go back to the code. So in troubleshooting what went wrong, first and foremost, we will save the input before checking before this loop. Look at this loop now. We check if number is between 1 and 20. If not, it gets out. It does not ask the user to input the number. So that means this number of item is at the wrong position. So we need to take it out of this position and bring it in the while loop. It should be in the while loop. So I don't even need to, because the value of valid is already false. I don't need that. I hope this is well understood. So it says valid is what? Is false. Why valid is false? So it should stay in this loop as far as number item is not within range, and it should keep asking. That is the reason why it should be in the while loop. Then we said if 1 is less than or equal to 20, valid is true. So when valid is true, are we supposed to put this in the while loop? No, because the value of valid is now known. I hope you understand. Is now known, because if you put this in the while loop, so let's assume number of item is 5. It continues to do this. It will continue to do this again and again. So that means the for loop is supposed to be outside of the while loop and just in the function, not within the while loop. Because the while loop is for you to re-enter the number of items until it is within the valid range. So that was a mistake that I made while explaining. I hope you guys can identify the mistake and you understand how to correct the mistake. So now let's run our code. So back to the question. So it says we should test our input with 30, then again 5, then 39412. 39412. So this is the list of numbers, or this is the array. So which makes our code now correct. Is this understood? So let's move forward. So let's move to the next question. So you are asked to screenshot your output, then you paste. So it now says the procedure bubble sort. The procedure bubble sort, that is another function, uses bubble sort to sort data in data stored into ascending numerical order. So we need to sort the array into ascending numerical order. So write code for what? For bubble sort. So let's come back here as number 1D. 1D to write the function for bubble sort. Is a procedure, means it's the function. So write def bubble sort. Okay. Bubble sort, I think it's capital letter S. Okay, good. How do we sort our array? It's very simple. So let's plan it here. Let's assume the array is 1, let's say 4, 1, 5, 0, 7. Let's take, for example, this is our array. We need to sort this. So how do we sort? We take this value out. We take this value, or not out, we compare this value, these two values. So if the name of this array is, let's say, array, for example, then we check for array 0 and compare it with array 1. We check if it is greater than or less than, depending on how you want it. So let's check for greater than. We want to check if 4 is greater than 1, because array 0 is 4. The value of array 1 is 1. Are they not greater? Yes, they are. 4 is more than 1. Since 4 is more than 1, that means we need to swap their positions. Because this is more than this, we need to swap so that it becomes 1, 4. So how do we swap? There are several methods of swapping. Okay. First and foremost, you can bring a new variable. Okay. So in swapping, we need to bring a new variable. Okay. So we can say that x is equal to array 0, so that we keep the value of 4 in x. So the value of x is now equal to 4. Then since the value of x is 4, then we say array 0 is equal to array 1. Okay, so that position 0 now has the value of position 1, which is now 1. Then we conclude as by saying array 1 is now equal to what? X. Remember x was 4, right? So position 1 now has 4. Can you see that it is swapped? But this line of code is so long, 3 lines of codes. So to prevent writing it this way, we can write in Python by saying a comma b is equal to 1 comma 5, which means that the value of a is 1, the value of b is 5. So this is just a line of code that can simplify all these 3 lines of code. Okay, so that means that we can say that array 0 comma array 1 is equal to what? Array 1 comma what? Array 0. Is this understood? So that means that array 0 is now 1, array 1 is now 0. So we now take array 1 and 2 and do the same thing. When we are done, we take 2 and 3, do the same thing. We take 3 and 4, do the same thing. Okay? But do we need to start writing array 0, array 1, array, because we are taking positions one by one. So that means we need an iterative function to be able to do that for us, which is a what? Which is a for loop. Because we can have 1 million things or 1 million data in the array or in the data set, and we need to take them one by one. So how many times do we write our code? I hope you understand. So to prevent that, we use a for loop. So I hope you guys understand what it is to swap and what it is to swap two things. So we just check if this and this is more than, if this is or is more than this or less. So if it is not more, we do not swap. Okay, now let's write our code now. So in writing that code, we go back to our Visual Studio Code for bubble sort. So this is bubble sort. Okay, what are we sorting? We are sorting data store. Don't forget, data store is a global variable, so we need to redeclare it in our function because we need to use it in our function. If we don't redeclare it, it won't be linked with the global variable outside of the function. So it becomes a local and the value will not, like, let me use the word synchronize, kind of. So then I say global data stored. Okay, because I'm working on data stored. So with this, then I say that I use a for loop to swap each position of what? Of the list. So I say for I in the range of the length of what? Of data stored. I can also say for I in the range of number item. Remember, number item is the number of things in what? In data store. So whichever we do, they are both the same thing. Then from here, then I say if the first value, right? Data stored I, okay, is what? Greater than, according to what we just wrote here, is greater than what? Data stored I, data stored, okay, data stored I plus 1. Data stored I is greater than data stored I plus 1. That is, if this is more than this, then what do? We swap. Then I can say data stored I plus 1. Okay, then I can say data stored I, then comma, data stored I plus 1 is equal to data stored I plus 1 and data stored I. Is this understood? So which is exactly what I wrote here. So the question is this the end of the code? Have we swapped at the end of the for loop? At the end of the for loop, what happens? It takes them one by one, isn't it? So when it takes them one by one, then I have this, if this is the array, then I have this as, it swap this two, then it becomes 1, 4. Okay. It swap 4 and 5, list is as 5. It swaps 5 and 0, then put 0, 5. Then swap 5 and 7. So this will be our result because it only runs once. It took each of the position, check which is greater, first and second, second and third, third and fourth, fourth and fifth, fifth and seventh, fifth and sixth, sixth and seven, and does that. When it's done, that is all. But can you see that the array is not swapped? Is not sorted rather. Although 1 and 4 is sorted, 0 and 5 is sorted, but 0 is not supposed to be in this position. And this is not the position for 1, this is not the position for 4. So that means that we need a loop or a function that will be able to do this over and over and over again until all the items are fully swapped, until everything is in its position. That is, after it goes the first one, it goes the second one to recheck again. When it goes the second one to recheck again, it will swap 4 and 0 so that it becomes 1, 0, 4, 5, 7, which is still not sorted. It goes its third time and bring it 0, 1, 4, 5, 7, which is now sorted. But you don't know the number of times it will run because you don't have the array. The array can have 1,000 elements in it. I hope you understand. So that means that you need to write a loop that will make this loop. The reason why we can't use a for loop is because for loop has a starting and has an end. But we don't know where it's going to end. So that means we need a while loop. I hope you understand. We need a while loop to be able to do this. So what do we need to do? We need to, when this is swapped, then we say that we need to set a boolean to say it has been swapped. And when it is swapped, then we end the while loop. Do you understand? So at this point, then we say we have to use the variable swap and say it is what? It is, I think it's false. It depends. So I don't know what you want to use as a student writing the exam. Okay. So let me make it swap is equal to false. Do you understand? Now, then I say why not swap? Why do I say why not swap? Because the while loop will only run if the condition is true. But why is false? That's so it can only run when it is true. I hope you understand that. So I have an indentation problem here. So why not swap? So after this has been swapped, then I say swap is equal to true. Is this understood? Then I say swap is equal to true. So now that, so before then, I still need to rewrite the value of swap here as equal to false. So what is the explanation behind this? You can draw a trace table to be able to explain and understand this better. Okay. Now, so it just says that the value of swap is false and start to iterate within this length. Do you understand? Within 0 to what? To the length. But we are going to have an error. What is the error? This takes when I is 0, let's assume that the length of this array is 4, for example, is 4. Or let's assume the array is, if the array is, let's take for example, let me write an array here. If the array is, let's say 4, 3, 1, 2. How many things do we have in the array? 4 things. Then we say for, then we wrote that for I in range 0, length of data stored. Length of data stored is what? Is 4. That means length of range. So we are using range of what? Of 4. Range of 4 means it will iterate in position of 0, 1, 2, 3. That is what range of 4 means. Now, for the first one, it check data stored I, which is this value. Compares it to what? Data stored I plus 1, isn't it? When I is 0. So when I is equal to 0, it takes this value and this value, isn't it? And compare. It goes to I equals to what? 1. It goes to I equals to 1. And compare this value and this value, isn't it? Which is data stored 1 and data stored 2. It goes to I is equal to 2 and compare what? Data stored 2 and data stored 3, which is 2 and 3. Is that understood? Then it now goes to I is equal to 3 and compare what? Data stored 4 and data stored 5. But data stored does not have the 5th index. Then it turns an error as index out of range. So to prevent that, what do we need to do? We need to add -1 so that the index does not go out of range. I hope this is well understood. So another mistake that I see in this code now is that the value of swap was false, and I say why not swap, because I want to make it true. This might continue to run because everything will just become true on the long run. So why don't I say swap is equal to true and change the value of swap inside this function, which is now false. I hope you understand. So we say why swap is true. Then the value of swap will now be changed to false. And when everything is done, change it back to true. I hope you understand. So when everything is done, it changes back to true. Okay, or else swap still remains false. So let's go to the next question. What does it say? Write the program code to amend the main program. So we go back. Remember the main program we wrote there. Log in my system. So the next question says that write the program code to amend the main program. So remember the main program, that this was the main program. That is number 1C. Okay. To do what? To call bubble sort. So we need to call bubble sort after bubble sort has been written. So I need to take this out of this point. and bring it down, or else it might write error that bubble sort is not found. Okay, so we call bubble sort after we initialize bubble sort. Why? Because initialize populated the array. So we are trying to sort the array with the function bubble sort. Okay, so you say write the program code to amend the main program to call bubble sort and then output the contents of data store. So with this, we call bubble sort and we output the contents. So let's see if our code works. So we run this. So how do we check if our code works? We are asked to test. So it says test your program by inputting the following data in the given order. So let's do that. What is the first order? What is the first number? 5. Enter 5. The next 39412. 39412. Can you see that the data is now sorted in the array? That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. I hope this is well understood. So let's go to the next question. 1E. So 1E, comment out. It says that the function binary search. So we need another function for binary search. So I need to write def binary search. The function binary search takes integer parameter. It must have a parameter, and the name of the parameter is data to find. Okay, and this parameter is to be searched for in the array. So we need to search for the parameter in the array. So the parameter is data to find. So that is the parameter it takes, and this is the parameter we need to search for in the array using binary search. So it says that performs an iterative binary search on array data stored. So we need to search for that data to find in that array data stored using the binary search function. So how is it done? So let's go back to an analysis of how it is done. We need to search binary. What does binary means? Yeah, binary means dividing by 2. Or no, don't let me say by divide by 2. It means 2, isn't it? So that means if I have an array of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Binary search only works on a sorted array. We search for a number. Okay, so we want to search for a number in this array. Okay, now to search for a number in this array using binary search, what we need to do is to divide this array by 2. I hope you understand. Is to divide this array by 2 by finding the middle index. How many numbers do we have here? 9. So if the name of the array or the variable of the array is array, then we say mid is equal to array divided by 2. So let's take, for example, this array. We want to find an item in this array using the binary search. That is, what is the process? First and foremost, let's declare this index as lower. That is, the first element as lower and the last element as what? As upper. Because binary search is only used to search a sorted array. So it's difficult to use in an array that is not sorted. There is a reason. So our aim is to take the middle value. The middle value depends on how you work in. The middle value may be 5 or 4. It depends on how you want to calculate your middle value, because this is an odd number. If you have an even number, then the middle value is 5. But for an odd number, the middle value can be 4, 5, or 6. It depends on how you calculate your own middle number. So let's take example. This is the middle number. If the number we want to find is 7, For example, the number we want to find is 7. Is 7 that number in the middle? No. So we say if the number we want to find is equal to the what? The middle number in the array. We want to check if it is equal. Since it is not equal, then we check to the right, we check to the left. Checking to the left means we check if the number is less than that middle number. We want to check if it is less than. If the number is less than the middle number, that means the number tends towards the left, which is the reason why we must sort. Do you understand? So let's assume the number we want to find is 3. That means 3 is to the left. So this condition will be true. But for this example, or for my illustration, the number we are finding is 7, which means it is not to the left. It is where? It is to the right. So we check if number is greater than what? Array mid. Do you understand? So if number is greater, 7 is greater than 5, so that means the number we want to find is where? Is at the right hand side. Since it is at the right hand side, what do? We ignore all the value at the left hand side and focus only on the right hand side. I hope you understand. So that means this value 6 now becomes lower, while value 9 remains what? Upper. Is that understood? Then we can say our mid is equal to what? Lower plus what? Upper, floor divided by 2. So you only get the integer part of it. Is that understood? If the number we are finding is 3, let's say for example, the number we want to find is 3. Okay. Okay, I haven't completed this. From this, then we say that lower is now equal to mid plus 1 because 5 is the mid. This is now lower. Is that understood? So lower will be equal to what? Mid plus 1. If the number we want to find is 3, where is 3? 3 satisfies this condition. It is towards the left. That means we ignore everything in the array to the right and only focus on the left. So that means the value before the mid value now becomes the upper. Is that understood? The value before the mid value becomes the upper. So that means that the mid value is now what? Is now this plus this divided by 2. So the mid value only changes in both cases. So that means upper in this case is equal to what? Is equal to mid minus 1. So upper is now the value before the mid value. So with that, we don't have to, because now that we are taking, if we are taking the value after the mid value to the right, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we will divide this by 2 again. We find the mid value. Are you following me? We find the mid value. And check if the number we want to find is at the mid value. I hope you understand. So what is the length of this array? 4. What is upper? The upper now becomes what? Now becomes this is 0 to 8. That is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8. So this becomes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Isn't it? 5. So 8 plus 5 is what? 13. Divided by 2 is what? Is 6. That is 4 divided by 2. Okay, which is 6. So where is 6? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means this is the value, which is now equal to what we need to find. Do you understand? So that means we need to redivide by 2. So do we need to write the code over and over to divide by 2? No, we can just use a loop to do that. I hope you understand. So how do we implement this now? Now that we understand what to do, so we need to what? We need to implement this in our code. Is that understood? So how is it done? First and foremost, we find the mid value, isn't it? So we say lower is equal to, what is the name of the array? Data stored 0. That is, we are saying the first value in the data stored in the array is lower. And we're saying upper is equal to the length of Is it data store 2? Lower is not, no, lower is equal to 0, not data store 0. Lower is the index, not the value. The index, not value. Okay. Upper is the lower is the index of the first value, while upper is the index of the last value. Is that understood? So we say upper is equal to the length of data what? Data stored minus 1. Because we have 9 things here, but the index is 8, isn't it? So the length of 9 is the length of 9. The length of data stored is 9, and 9 minus 1 is 8. So we have lower and upper. Is that understood? Then we say the mid value is now equal to, or the mid index is equal to lower plus what? Upper. Okay? Lower plus upper, floor divided by 2. So since we are using data stored in this function, we need to declare it as what? As a global variable. Okay? Then we say global data stored, so that it is linked with what? With the outside variable. So this is now the middle index. So we want to check if the number we want to find, which is data to find, is equal to the value in the middle. Is that understood? Then we say if the data to find, okay, is equal to data stored mid. So we are trying to check if the data we want to find is equal to the data in the mid value in the array. Is that understood? So that is how to check. So this means that it has been found. And when it is found, what does the question says we should do? The question says that takes integer, performs binary search, returns the index where data defined is found in data stored. So this is returning the index. I hope you understand that. It will return the index where that value is found. So if this is found, then it return mid, because mid is what? Mid is the index of the middle. So we are saying if data is equal to the data in the middle, then it returns mid. It returns that index, which is the mid. I hope you understand that. Now, what if the data is not found in the index? What if it is at the left hand side? Then we say if data to find, if data to find, Ctrl Z, sorry about that. So we say if data to find is what? Is less than. If it's at the left, is that understood? If it's at the left, what happens? The value for lower changes, right? To what? Sorry, the value for upper changes to mid minus 1. So we say upper is equal to mid minus 1, isn't it? According to our explanation, the way we illustrated at this with this array. But we also check if it's to the right, isn't it? So if what? Data to find is greater than, then we change the lower value, isn't it? According to what we just planned there. Then we say lower is equal to mid plus 1. So with this, that means for each of them, we need to recalculate the mid, isn't it? And we find. So it is difficult to recalculate the mid because we don't have to write the code over and over for each of these conditions. Like when it is equal, the mid is mid. But when it is upper, we recalculate. When it is lower, we recalculate. Do we have to always do that? That means we need another function to iterate, to continue the loop until that value is found. Do you understand? So we need to calculate, we need to continue to loop until that value is found, but should not go to infinity. It should end if the value is found, or if the array is exhausted. If the array has 10 values, it should run 10 times if the value is not found, or run until the value is found. So we need a while loop to be able to do that. So we say while, okay, while First and foremost, okay, we can even say, since we are using return will equip the function. So we can say while what is it called? While upper, while no, not while upper, while lower is less than or equal to what? Is less than or equal to the upper value, and the upper value is what? Is length of data stored. Okay, so we move this to our index. So let's try and check our condition, if our condition is valid. Okay, let's check our condition if it is valid. We said while lower is less than or equal to length of data stored, that is to say, while lower is equal to, it can be length of data stored, it should be length of data stored minus 1. Minus 1. Do you know the reason? Because we have 9 things as the length, but the upper value is what? Is 8. So it should be length of data stored minus 1. So it should continue to do this until the lower value is equal to what? Is equal to upper value. So this should be done. I hope you understand. So if we check the middle value, didn't find it there, check it to the right. Check it to the right, go to the right, or check it to the left, go to the left. So while checking, always check if the lower bound is equal to what? To the upper value, to the upper index. So once the lower index is equal to the upper index, that means the array has been fully and thoroughly searched. Do you understand? So whenever you find it, always return the mid. And the mid is not the middle index, it is the middle index of the array. So do you know that for this whole array, the middle index is, let's say for example, 5. For this small array, the middle index is what? Is 6. For the other small array, the middle index will always change because the value of upper and lower is always changing. I hope you understand this. So with this, let's go back to the question. The question now says that returns the index where the item is found in data stored, which is what we just did now. If data to find is not found, returns what? Minus 1. So then the next is, the next thing is, what if the data is not found? So according to this function, whenever the item is found, it returns mid. And when the return keyword is met, it leaves the function. So if the item is not found, then it will not return mid, it will finish the function. So what I'm saying that outside of the while loop, return minus 1. So that means that after you've searched and you couldn't return mid, just return minus 1. So which means that that question has been answered. So we are done with number 1, with number 1E. So let's move forward to the next. 1EII. It now says, write the program code to amend the main program. So you go back to your main program. You bring your main program after the function, because it runs line by line. So you need to bring it after the function because you need to call the function. So write the program code to amend the program. We want to amend this main program to do what? Take a number as input from the user. You need to tell the user, give me a number, maybe the number you want to find. Is that understood? So let's come here. We should do that after bubble sorts and say number is equal to input. Enter the number you want to find. Since we are dealing with a number, then we'll convert this back to what? To an integer. Okay. Enter a number you want to find. Call binary search. So we have to take this back up. Okay. You call binary search. Binary search. Binary search requires a parameter. Remember? But the number as what? As input. So the input will be number. So that is the number you want to find. So output the value returned. So you output the value returned. Okay. So that means that you just write print just to output the value. So whatever is returned will be printed out. Is that understood? Output the value returned from the function called as is parameter. So we save our code. Then we'll move on to the next. So to test. So let's test. Okay. So we go back to question 1EII says test your program twice with the following inputs. Okay. So we run to test. So it's saying test with the following inputs. So test one is 5, 1, 6, 2, 8, 10, 2. So 5, 1, 6, 2, 8, 10, then 2. So can you see that 1, 6, 2, 8, 10 are 5 numbers that were entered? Then we're searching for 2, it returns the index as 1, which is as simple as that. Then for the next test, test 2, you run again. Okay, it's 5, 1, 6, 2, 8, 10, 7. 5, 1, 6, 2, 8, 10, 7. So 7 is what? Is not found. Can you see that? So it only returns a what? A null. So -1 means a null. So it's as simple as that. I hope you understand this. If you have any question, you can type it down in the comments and I will reply or make a video to in reply or to respond or answer your question. Okay, thank you.